We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 80.1 FM, KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and now, our World Broadcasting Tag Team Champions of the World and the Cruiserweight Champion.
I'm Ethan.
I'm James.
I'm Rob.
And this is episode 175 of Beyond the Ropes. We are BTR Pro Wrestling Talk. You can find us on Twitter at RealBTR Radio. You can find me on Twitter at EthanM85. You can follow James at
JHW Reporter.
And you can find Rob at
Rob Flores Media. And don't forget the R250. Ethan.
So this is the last recording of Beyond the Ropes in the year 2021. What a year it has been. And of course, I decided to get sick at the end of the year. We'll see. Hopefully not the COVID. But,
Not the COVID.
Not the COVID. But you know, I'm all right. So
not even Roman Reigns can protect you from that, huh?
Not my tribal chief. Well, we gotta end it. We gotta end it the way we started it. I acknowledge Roman Reigns as my tribal chief to end 2021. Rob, I know you feel the same. James, you still have time.
Why don't you ask him to end COVID or something? Like, you know, it's better that you're probably away from Roman Reigns, because if you probably get him sick, you'd probably end his career.
We can't afford getting him sick.
Definitely can't afford to get him sick.
WWE couldn't afford getting him sick, which is why they pulled him out of the live events this past weekend, as well as a number of other wrestlers that were pulled from the live events. Let's quickly mention that. So obviously with WWE's first pay-per-view of 2022 coming up, WWE Day 1, a number of superstars have been pulled. The list includes Roman Reigns, as I mentioned, Shinsuke Nakamura, which is an interesting one. We had Seth Rollins, our drip god himself. We had Becky Lynch pulled, Bianca Belair, WWE champion Big E, and I believe Austin Theory was another one that was pulled. Zelina Vega, number of wrestlers. It was noted that not everyone was tested positive. It was just a matter of precautionary measures. Obviously, the big event.
That was kind of the first thing that came to mind for me, was like, were they out for the holidays or were they COVID related? I mean, it's bound to happen anywhere and everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously,
I believe Seth may have tested positive, considering he did put a happy COVID Christmas or something. And that's obviously with Becky obviously being together. Yeah. So, I don't know if she tested positive or not, but obviously she's in the vicinity of Rollins. And then again, for Roman Reigns, probably a precautionary measure. They're always trying to protect him. Same thing for Big E. He's the champion. He's got to defend the title this weekend. Kevin Owens was on Raw, the only actually person in that Fatal 4-Way that showed up on Raw this past week in person. So, nice doing well.
I mean, you talk about that, and obviously what the pay-per-view or the special, whatever they call it now, Day 1 is coming up. So the last thing you want is for that to be severely impacted in that regard.
Whether they've tested positive or not, they'll be good to go, healthy, maybe by the pay-per-view. And if not, as long as, they're taken care of, that's what's important. I think Rob just put out that Jake the Snake tested positive for COVID. So
that's what I saw too. Yeah.
Best wishes to him. X-Pac was on the bump earlier today. He is saying he's going to be medically cleared to wrestle next year. So you're going to see the X Factor show up.
Why?
Why not? Give him one more run, one final year.
I mean, I was a big X-Pac fan when he was in DX and whatnot, but I don't know. Rob saying AEW in the chat. AEW better not. I mean, I have nothing against X-Pac, but he's one of my favorite action figures growing up. But I'm just like, AEW doesn't need any more people like that.
They don't. And let's talk about how many people they've gotten this past year. Shall we? Let's go recap the year a little bit. starting with the WWE releases.
Hey,
including a new one
that
today.
didn't change today. They had another one today. Did you see that?
Yeah, there was. However, this person did ask for their release.
This
Apparently,
is true.
it wasn't a decision made by the company.
Mhm.
Tony Storm, who was just recently in a feud with Charlotte Flair and just had a championship match with her on SmackDown last week, had apparently requested her release from the company and was granted that release.
Was there any reason reported why? I know there were several wrestling websites that kind of were reporting that news. But yeah, I didn't actually get to click on any of them to read what was kind of being said.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. There was a quote going around saying it was tough to pitch ideas on the main roster or something. I don't know.
Part of me,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It just seemed like that maybe she wasn't happy with her short stint on the main roster. I mean, she was only there for like 6 months, less than 6 months, so it's not like she had much of a run. So
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me was, you just said she just got done working with Charlotte. Maybe there was something there where Charlotte was maybe a little too controlling, or maybe maybe had too much influence on the way that rivalry went, or whatever, or something along those lines. And maybe that's not the case. So I'm not trying to bury Charlotte there at all, in any regard. But we're just kind of throwing that out there. But yeah, I mean, the thing with Toni Storm is I remember there was a lot of buildup around her. I believe she was in one of the Mae Young Classics when she first kind of debuted on the roster, and then eventually, I believe, what was on the UK show. But I mean, I never really, maybe again because she was on the UK show, but I just never really saw her get started or have. I knew the name, I knew there was something behind her, I knew she was supposed to be this solid talent. But I mean, I can't think of a match that she had. And I mean, I think she's probably been with the company up to this point about 2 or 3 years now, at least, before the pandemic. And I just hasn't been much.
More than like 4 years, probably.
Even when she debuted on the main roster, she still went away for like 6 months or so, right? Before she just recently came up on one of these pay-per-view shows.
Yeah, I mean, she started off in the Mae Young Classic. If I'm not mistaken, the inaugural Mae Young Classic winner. I could be wrong on that.
She might have
been the first one or second one.
She might have been. Well, because I was debating whether or not she won it. I was pretty sure she was a semi-finalist, or she was. Now, was she also the first UK champion?
No, she was the second.
She was the second. That's right.
And
I think she did win the Mae Young Classic, because then I was surprised that she didn't become the first UK champion, but she was the second. So I think I do remember that. Do you remember who the first one was?
It was Rhea Ripley.
Was it Rhea? That's right. Okay, because Rhea. Okay.
She was in the Mae Young Classic too.
She was in it too, but very different look back then.
Yeah. But continuing on with Toni, he had a brief run in NXT, USA, Black and Gold. She never really did a whole lot.
Never did. No.
They didn't really give her a whole lot to work with. She's a good wrestler. She puts on good matches. Go watch some of those UK matches. Those were great. The Mae Young Classic matches were great. But she never really kicked off anything in NXT. And then earlier this year, she was called up. SmackDown, you mentioned she showed up, I think had one match, disappeared for a couple months, showed back up to kind of feud with Charlotte, and now we're here.
Then poof, gone. Yeah, I wonder how much of the pandemic might have influenced that, because I know UK was kind of in the, had some struggles with the COVID stuff. I think that show got heavily impacted, or well, they had the allegation stuff too, I think. But yeah, I just wonder how much of that, and then just trying to move from one, trying to find a spot on TV during the pandemic. If she's overseas, was probably pretty tough. So maybe some of that played a part. I mean, they were pretty invested in her to some degree. So not sure what the situation was there. Obviously, she has plans or is looking forward to something, or knows what's best for her going forward. So hopefully she lands on her feet pretty quickly and knows what she wants here pretty soon. But I think she'll be able to bounce back pretty strong. So yeah, that was a release today. I did see that trending, and I did see that as a release. And then I started getting a little afraid here and started clicking around. I saw Asuka's name trending. I saw Alexa Bliss's name trending. When I saw Asuka's name trending, I clicked on it. I got a little afraid. I'm like, I mean, because she's kind of been off the map, I feel like a little bit.
Just had
And
some time off. Same with Bliss. They
mhm.
need some time off. So hopefully we'll see them come back shortly.
Yeah,
When
but
they're
just
ready.
seeing them trend, I was just like, ooh, something. But at first, I mean, honestly, with the thing with Asuka was I only saw like one tweet with, oh, we missed out on an Asuka Tony Storm match or like different matches for Tony
Yeah.
Storm, but then the rest of it was just kind of like some cartoon anime thing that had to do with Asuka. So I was kind of like, what is it? All this? It wasn't Asuka the wrestler related, I guess maybe, but yeah, it was just kind of interesting to see that was the only release considering the names that were out there.
Going through some of the releases over here. On December 9th, most recently, Jeff Hardy was released.
Oh yeah.
Basically, he was offered help, declined it, felt he didn't need it. November 18th, some more releases occurred. Ashanti Adonis, Top Dollar, Drake Maverick, John Morrison, Tegan Knox, Jackson Riker, Isaiah Swerve Scott, and Shane Thorne were all released. November 4th, Keith Lee was released. Karen Cross, Nia Jax, Ember Moon, Eva Marie, Mia Yim, Harry Smith, Lindsay Dorado, Grand Metalik, Jeet Rama, Katrina Cortez, Trey Baxter, Zeta Ramir, Jessica Maya, B-Fab, Oni Lorcan, Frankie Monet, and Scarlett Bordeaux were released. On August 6th, a bunch of NXT cuts. Bobby Fish, Bronson Reed, Mercedes Martinez, Tyler Rust, Kona Reeves, Leon Ruff, Stephen Smith, Jake Atlas, Ari Sterling, Desmond Troy, Zechariah Smith, Asher Hale, and Giant Zangier. On August 3rd, Ric Flair had requested his release from the company and was granted it. Our favorite wrestler. They're smiling there. He's doing great for himself, right?
He's gotten some chaos, that's for sure. I know. I think Jim Cornette was talking about him recently.
July 31st, a big one. Bray Wyatt was released. Again, part of the budget cuts as they've mentioned throughout the year.
Yeah.
June 25th, Killian Dane was released, along with Kurt Stallion, August Gray, all from NXT, Marina Shafir, and the Bollywood Boys. A big loss for me, Tyler Breeze. Big fan of him. And Fandango were also released that day.
Now, was this the spring? This was the spring cleaning one, right?
This was the June 25th. So this was the second one.
Oh, okay. This was the second one then.
Mania one. Yeah.
Because this time right here was when it was like, oh, this is more than a spring cleaning thing. This is
they're cutting. They're
cutting like for whatever reason, cutting. Yeah, this was like the beginning of like red flags and stuff.
Some more Arturo Ruas, Tony Nese, Arya Davari, all June 25th. Everrise. Some of these names you can actually see on AEW television right now. Mm-hmm. Braun Strowman was released on June 2nd. That was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that might have been the third one because now we're in June 2nd.
Yeah.
So this might have been the one after the spring release.
Well, because the spring release would have been like the week before, or I think it was right after WrestleMania.
It was when the Iconics, I think, were there.
That was like right after WrestleMania because they were in the stands, and then the next week they were like almost out.
Aleister Black, he's over as Malachi Black now.
Pause. What is he doing? Anything significant over there? Or
I don't think so.
Yeah,
not that I've heard. Yeah, he feuded with Cody, and I think he lost a feud or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I just even forgot he was on AEW, to be honest.
Buddy Murphy, Lana. Yeah, these are some big ones here. Ruby Riott, who we see as Ruby Soho now. AEW. Santana Garrett. So now we're in May. Jessamine Duke was released in May. She was the only one there. I think she's still doing stuff for like up, down, down, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know.
She?
I don't know. I haven't really seen any much of up, down, down stuff. So. March 21st, Andrade, who had requested his release. So this was okay. So the June ones were I guess, the post-Mania. Weren't the Iconics released like?
Yeah, they were released like right after WrestleMania.
All right, so those websites probably missing a few, but Lars Sullivan was released February.
Forgot about Lars.
Steve Cutler, February 4th.
Who?
Samoa Joe. Oh, here we go. So here's the April. I don't know why they were out of order. Samoa Joe was April 15th. Obviously, he's since been rehired. Won the NXT Championship. Back on the injury list. There was an image going around of him at a talent thing, like a tryout session next to William Regal. So he's still working. That's good for him.
All right, well, that's good.
He's doing something at least. So that was Samoa Joe. Peyton Royce, April 15th. Billy Kay, Mickey James, the famous, perhaps my favorite moment of 2021. The gift of the trash bag.
The trash bag incident.
Trash bag incident. That's great. Chelsea Green, who just today got a marriage license with her favorite woo Matt Cardona.
They got married today?
They got their marriage license. I think they're getting married on New Year's Day officially. So, who else? Tucker Knight, Kalisto, Bo Dallas, and Wesley Blake. So,
and in that,
find,
huh?
Those were all the releases I could find this year.
I was gonna say, unless I missed it. Did you even mention Keith Lee in there?
I did. I expected that list, but yeah.
Now, who was your biggest surprise of those cuts from this year? Who were the biggest ones for you? The most shocking? Anything that stand out from that list now that we kind of get to look back at it in what has been a very long year? Because some of those releases seem like a very long time ago.
I mean, it was one of the most recent ones. For Jeff Hardy was a bit of a shock just because I know he wanted to end his run with WWE. Obviously, with that incident that occurred, you kind of figured, well, maybe, keep him off TV or something. Didn't think they would release him. In terms of like just general releases, budget cuts, as they say, I was pretty shocked when they released Aleister Black because they were starting to do something with him. He just came back.
That's right.
They were starting to do something with him, and then boom, next week he gets cut.
Now I'm trying to remember what the difference was after Zelina Vega got released. Was that Zelina Vega got released?
She got cut last year.
And then, so she came back after he got released is what happened. He got released and she was back like within the month.
She got signed. She re-signed, I think, early spring maybe. And then he got released and then she came back. She made her return. She had a good year for her. So
she had a good end of the year. She kind of was like,
first half maybe not so much, but second half he had a good year. So we'll talk more about that. We'll talk maybe some of the more surprises of this year. All that and more on the 175th episode of Beyond the Ropes, the last episode of 2021. We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back to episode 175 of Beyond the Ropes. I'm your host, Ethan, joined alongside the analyst, James Williams, and producer, Rob Flores. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Beyond the Ropes, and YouTube. Just search up Beyond the Ropes, and you'll find 174 episodes currently uploaded there. Before the break, we were talking about the recent releases of this past year, some of the shocking releases. James, do you have any shocking releases?
Shocking releases for me, I think, was definitely Keith Lee. Didn't see that one coming, especially considering the fact that he had that health issue and it took him a while to get back. And once he did get back, he thought he was going to be
Bearcat.
He thought he was going to be a full go, but he comes back as the Bearcat and barely does anything.
He had attitude issues, sir.
No, he didn't. I mean, I'm trying to imagine Keith Lee like.
He seems like a very difficult person.
Imagine thinking that. No, so it's just kind of, I don't know. Like, again, one thing that stands out to me was that clip I saw at some point. I don't know if it was right after he got released or something, where he was talking with Vince, and he, Vince, he felt Vince's passion when talking to him backstage after a match, and was really inspired by that. And I don't know. After seeing that, I thought there were big things ahead, but apparently that wasn't necessarily the case. But it'd be that way sometimes. So that was definitely one of the shocking ones for me. I think one of the ones that it was only a matter of time at that point was Lars Sullivan. Again, that one doesn't even feel like that was this year, but that was definitely one where just everything going on. I know he had some different mental health issues, I think, at that point, and anxiety, or maybe the better way to put that. But yeah, he had his situation. And yeah, I think the Aleister Black one you mentioned was also maybe one that was a little bit surprising. I think it was actually fairly surprised. That might have been maybe more so the most surprising one, considering where they were at that point. Again, as you mentioned before the break, that Aleister Black was in the middle of more or less a run getting started there, and they kind of release him for that. I think the other one too was BFAB and Company, and them. I think they had just moved up to the main roster. They seem to be pretty popular, or at least liked to some degree on the NXT roster. So that was a little bit surprising for sure. That's something worth remembering. It's like, there's talk of him selling the company or whatever.
That's right. There was a lot of that discussion this year.
And I mean, there still might be, but at the same time, if you're getting what is it? If you're getting a new headquarters, why would you be selling?
I think he's preparing for the next step for when he's gone. You have it set up for whoever takes over.
Yeah, but I don't think the headquarters.
Well, the headquarters and the company in general, which is why there's so many releases this year.
Well, part of me wonders, because they're public, right? So yeah. I mean, I don't know how hard it is to go back private, but who's to say that they wouldn't? I'm just throwing stuff out there now, but who's to say that he doesn't buy it?
There's that too.
Because maybe then it stays within, and
it stays.
I don't know.
Family. Yeah.
So maybe you're cutting down the roster. I don't know all this business stuff, but maybe you're cutting down the roster, making it a cheaper property. Maybe people start pulling out of the investment, or their public ownership. I don't know. We're just throwing stuff out there, but I don't know. There has to be some reason for some of this. I mean, obviously it's not like they were short on money. If anything, they were the biggest winner of the pandemic. I mean, they signed the Fox deal and had just maybe gotten the Saudi Arabia deal not long before the pandemic. So it's like, I think they had done pretty well from themselves over the pandemic to where Rob's talking about John Cena or something in the chat.
So, we'll talk about best moments. We'll talk about best moments right now.
But I don't know if you guys saw, but John Cena was a pretty popular guy on Twitter. A lot of people got a follow from John Cena. I realized I wasn't following John Cena, went ahead and followed John Cena, and Cena followed me back. And that's because me and Cena, we're cool, we're buds, and you guys are just John Cena haters.
Well, I apologize. He lost to the Tribal Chief. So that was one of the best moments of 2021.
No.
But
you gave him the rub.
Yeah, Roman gave him the rub.
No.
The Hollywood rub. He sent him packing to Hollywood. He said, "Go do your thing. I got this over here. I'm gonna send you to Hollywood. Go try and be like The Rock over there. Not as good."
Sir, wasn't Roman Reigns not in a movie with The Rock under his wing?
It wasn't his priority. It's all right. Yeah, that's when he was sick. Or might have been recorded film before.
He just got back or something. Yeah. I mean, that stuff's recorded a year before.
Yeah, I know, but it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah.
But anyways, getting back to moments, releases, AEW picked up a number of big names. Brian Danielson, probably one of the biggest ones. Sort of shocking, not too shocking though, knowing he wanted to wrestle elsewhere. We talk about CM Punk, probably the shocker of the year, showing up on AEW. Adam Cole was probably my biggest shocking moment of the year, showing up there, with Bobby Fish eventually joining, and as of last week, Kyle O'Reilly joining them. So we got 3/4 of Undisputed Era there. But they also got Andrade. They got Malachi Black, Ruby Soho. Who knows who else? They're signing everyone. Hopefully, they're already crowded. But hopefully, 2022, they're able to kind of balance that out.
Who do you think will be the biggest jump to AEW or AEW to WWE, especially with the way things have happened at that roster? A lot of the people who left for WWE, who left WWE, went to AEW, went to Impact. So now maybe we start seeing it the other way around, or just who are some more WWE people that you think are maybe being underutilized right now, or could get frustrated here over the next year and maybe on their way out?
Who in WWE leaves, or?
Yeah, we can start with that.
Okay. That's a good question. I'm gonna say the name that probably leaves next year. Jeez, who's
Can I tell you one?
being utilized right now? Who hasn't signed up?
Charlotte is probably an option.
Charlotte. You know what?
It seems unlikely, but I mean, so are so many other things.
I would not be terribly surprised at that. I would be surprised, but not completely surprised.
Right.
At this point, it could be anyone.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm trying to think. I think Rob mentioned in the chat Bobby Roode. I think that can be an option.
Potentially, I don't know if he would be the biggest name right now, but potentially that's an option.
I mean, it doesn't have to be the biggest name; it's just somebody in general. But again, I don't know if Bobby Roode's in a position to jump just to go to AEW or something.
Right.
I mean, he'd probably go to Impact more than anything else. But I'm trying to think. I don't think anyone on the New Day would.
I'd be surprised if any one of them left.
I think maybe you could see Alexa Bliss. Maybe I could see that potentially.
I don't see her. I don't see her jumping. I don't see that.
Maybe even if it's not necessarily a jump. But
if someone's like, what if they just let their contract expire, or like what?
I mean, if she hasn't been used, I mean, again, they could just get released.
Well, they could get released.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it doesn't have to just be.
Who else is gonna get released? that's a thing.
Well, they're running out of people to release. Honestly, I wouldn't be entirely shocked if one of the Usos got released, or if there's only one of them with a couple strikes on his name now, but I wouldn't rule that out. You get one or two more of those incidents in a year.
Alpha Academy, maybe, although they've been used recently.
I can see that. I could potentially see that happening.
Once they're out of the program with RK Bro, which they've been in the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't think the Street Profits get cut.
No, I don't think they get cut. Los Cesarios, maybe, which is
who?
Angel and
yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Although they're kind of being utilized. Maybe the Viking Raiders.
Oh, I think they are still there, huh? I guess that's a possibility.
Like, I don't think someone like Shinsuke Nakamura would get cut. I'd be surprised.
I wouldn't be entirely surprised if at some point if he doesn't get used or something after a while, if he got released or he decided to leave. I wouldn't be shocked by that, to be honest. Maybe a Corbin, I think.
Potentially, I don't know.
Corbin could be an option of someone that's maybe a little surprising to see get released, but.
Hey, let's talk about some of these matches of 2021. WWE made a 25 best matches of 2021 list. I'll quickly go through them. We can briefly talk about any of them if we remember anything that happened in those matches. According to their list, number 25, Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE title at Inside Hell in a Cell. I vaguely remember that. I don't know if I actually watched that one live, but I do vaguely remember that MVP got involved, distracting McIntyre for Lashley to retain the title. 24, RK Bro versus the Usos Champions versus champions at Survivor Series. That was a really good one. That finish was really cool, where we saw one of the Usos hit the splash into an RKO. So that's when that occurred. That was a solid match. We have everyone's favorite wrestler Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley in a no holds barred match. Look at that. We got
That was a top match for somebody.
Good
like
old
on purpose.
Bill. Like I think that's Rob's favorite match of the year. Honestly,
that talks about the talent of Drew McIntyre to carry Goldberg to a match.
Well, no, it was Lashley. It was Lashley versus
Lashley, even better.
Roman Reigns. Hold on, we already have Lashley in 2 of these. I don't believe that. Come on now.
Whose list is this again?
This is WWE's list.
Oof.
Yeah. So some of them might be a little questionable.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns versus Edge for the Universal title at Money in the Bank. That was a really good match. Any match with Roman Reigns is a good match.
Okay.
The build-up was great as well. Walter versus Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT UK Championship at NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver Night 1. That was a good one. I remember that. Jeez, I think
Ciampa was like pretty beat up, wasn't he not? Was he the one he was like all scarred or all welts and stuff? I think.
Yeah, that sounds about any match with Walter.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But yeah, no, I remember that. Jeez, I missed that NXT. It's all right. We'll talk about 2.0 in a second.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns versus Cesaro for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania Backlash. Forgot about WrestleMania Backlash, but that happened, and
that was a thing.
Roman Reigns, not surprising. Number 19, Raquel Gonzalez, Io Shirai, Kaylee Ray, and Cora Jade versus Team Toxic in the War Games match.
I always feel kind of weird about matches that get ranked like not too long after they just had them. Like I don't know.
So it's with the end of the year.
Can you give us a count right now of where they're at? Because I think like half of these matches are Lashley and half are Roman Reigns at this point, right?
So we got 2 Lashley and 2 Reigns, I think, matches.
I think so, yeah. And you're only 6 matches in.
I'm number 18, Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus, no holds barred match at WWE Fastlane. Do you vaguely remember that?
That's 2 for Drew now, I believe.
Was he in one?
You said Drew and Lashley or something.
Drew, that's right. So he gets 2 as well. So there you go. Mm-hmm. Here we go. Seth freaking Rollins versus Cesaro at WrestleMania Night 1. That was really good as well. Cesaro was 2 on this list too.
That was the opening match, wasn't it? Was it not?
It was not. That was the Lashley McIntyre match that opened the show.
That's right. But there was 2 nights, so it could have been.
Yeah. But yeah, Cesaro and another one. Of course, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns carried Cesaro to a good match. Not surprising. Number 16. We have Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn in a last man standing match on SmackDown on July 2nd. Vaguely remember that. Seems about right. I think that was probably one of the highlights of the show. Number 15, Big E versus Drew McIntyre versus Ricochet versus King Nakamura versus Riddle versus Kevin Owens versus Seth freaking Rollins versus John Morrison in the Money in the Bank ladder match.
I was going to say, this was a ladder match or something, right?
Yeah, so Drew McIntyre gets his 3rd installment. Rollins gets his 2nd installment. And Owens gets his 2nd installment on the best matches list.
And has there only been 2 NXT matches? Ciampa, Walter, and then the War Games match? You're
about to get a 3rd one right now. Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Gonzalez in a last woman standing match, kicking off the year at NXT New Year's Evil. Geez, seems so long ago, but there it is.
Yeah.
Started off the year. I remember that. That was a great women's match. Kicked off Ripley going over to Monday Night Raw, where she would eventually challenge for the title there. Number 13, Finn Balor versus Pete Dunne for the NXT Championship, NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day. That was one. That's where the Undisputed Era kind of broke up there. 12, Edge versus Seth frickin' Rollins at SummerSlam. I've noticed they've added frickin' to all of Rollins's names. So I guess that's, I think in the Raw graphic too, they put Seth frickin' Rollins. So that's a thing now, I guess. But yeah, another one for Edge and Rollins added to this list. Number 11, Rey Mysterio versus Finn Balor versus Seth freaking Rollins versus Kevin Owens in that 4-way ladder match. This was right after the draft, I believe. This was when Seth won and earned his opportunity for the WWE title. Finally getting it at day one, hopefully, as soon as he recovers. We're in the top 10 now. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus The Miz and John Morrison.
I remember seeing that one as a top 10. I remember that being a pretty solid match for what it was worth during the WrestleMania show. So I'm not mad at that.
It was solid for sure. Number 9, Big E versus Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns in the triple threat match. This was when Roman Reigns went over and showed them who's boss, who the real champion is. I remember that. Those were a good couple of weeks. Roman Reigns heading over there. But we're going to take another quick commercial break. We'll finish up the list when we return. And then we'll give our predictions for 2022. All that and more right here on Beyond the Ropes. We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 80.1 FM, KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back to episode 175 of Beyond the Ropes. I'm your host, Ethan, joined alongside the analyst, James Williams, and producer, Rob Flores. We're talking about the top 25 matches in WWE according to WWE. Number 8, Team Black and Gold versus Team 2.0 War Games match. Really solid match. No complaints there. Number 7, Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair for the Raw Women's Championship at Money in the Bank. That was a good one. Probably their best match that they've had. Number 6, Roman Reigns versus John Cena for the Universal Championship at SummerSlam. Roman Reigns, not surprisingly, making this list again. Carried Cena to a good match, right, James?
You could say that. There's a name I don't think I've heard on here yet, and it's kind of sad. They're not doing any justice to the name.
We'll see. Let us know what the name is after this.
I will.
Number 5, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair in the champion versus champion match at Survivor Series. Remember seeing this. People were loving it. Number 4, and personally probably my favorite match of the year, Walter versus Ilya Dragunov. This was their second match for the NXT UK Championship at NXT TakeOver 36.
This is a good one.
This was, like I said, probably my favorite match, and I see a lot of the comments over on Instagram and Twitter saying this probably should have been number 1, and I wouldn't have disagreed. Number 3, Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan, Universal Championship triple threat match, WrestleMania Night 2. This is when Roman Reigns stacked him. You all doubted him. Didn't think he was going to get the job done, and he stacked them both. 1, 2, 3. Send Daniel Bryan packing.
Yeah, I was like, Daniel Bryan was out the door not long after.
I can't beat Roman Reigns. I'm embarrassed. I'm going to go over there to the other show.
That's tough.
Really good stuff. Number 2, Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
There we go.
Night 1.
That's what I'm talking about. Put a little respect on Belair's name there. Is that her first match? Is that her first time she's been on the list?
I think the second match that should have been, she should have had another match. You want to know which one I think she should?
Which one?
Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair, SummerSlam.
I thought that one should have been on here too. That's why I was kind of surprised that it wasn't. Like
the 26-second match that happened.
Didn't they? No, you stop it. Didn't they have another match?
They did, but I'm talking about the SummerSlam when Becky returned. That should have been on the list right there.
You're just a hater. Yeah, I'm talking about their other match. Maybe it wasn't as good, but
didn't make the list. You want to guess what number 1 is? Don't look at it. Did you ever see it?
I couldn't even find it. I saved it somewhere, but I couldn't even find it. So that was the number 2 match?
That was the number 2.
They said that was number 3.
That was
number 2.
Guys, want to guess what number 1 is?
Number 1 was...
I could see this kind of being number 1. Probably not my favorite.
I think it was like, wasn't it not a WrestleMania match? It was that to be like the main event.
It was not a WrestleMania match.
Was it fairly recently?
Fairly recent, I guess. Second half of the year.
Oh, it has something to do with Edge. Does it not?
Yeah.
Edge and I want to say Edge and Seth.
Edge and Seth freaking Rollins
Okay.
inside Hell in the Cell at Crown Jewel.
That was at Crown Jewel.
This
I don't
was
know if I went back and
their
watched
their
that.
finish to the feud. So
That's
they
the
actually got their
best
first
match.
match, the SummerSlam match, on this list as well. So
I guess I'm kind of surprised it's on there, considering it's Crown Jewel. Like, how many people may have actually watched it, because it was kind of aired during the day. Obviously, you can go back and watch it.
it's great. It's
On
great.
Peacock, but
I would say feud of the year was definitely Edge versus Seth. I would say for me,
say that again. Oh, feud of the year was who and Seth?
Edge and Seth.
Edge and Seth.
I think they delivered some good stuff.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I'm not mad at that.
Let's give our predictions, shall we, for 2022?
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna read off Rob's. He wrote it down in the chat. So this is the list I sent to you guys before the show. It's predictions for the end of 2022. So I mean, this is gonna be predictions for the overall year, obviously. But we'll kind of look back at this at 2022, at the end of 2022. And again, these can change throughout the year because I did put like Royal Rumble winner and all that. Obviously, you can change your predictions once we get to those events. So,
Okay.
But these are early on predictions. For Rob, we're gonna go with he's got it all mixed up here. Royal Rumble winner. He has King Nakamura.
The Royal Rumble winner. Okay.
Money in the Bank winner, he has R-Truth. Of course, we had to get an R-Truth in there. Says LA Knight for United States champion. Okay. Say it with me, James. One more time.
L A
Knight.
There
All right.
you go.
We got it in. All right. Let's see. For the Raw Women's Championship, he has Natalya. Okay. And you'd probably agree with that, James.
I wouldn't be mad at it.
SmackDown Women's Champion, he has Raquel Gonzalez. That's not not a bad pick either. IC Champion, he has Carmella Hayes. Not a bad prediction either, I don't think. He even threw in an extra one here that I didn't even put on their list. For the Owen Hart Cup, he has Brian Pillman Jr.
I can see that.
I
can see that happening. I think he also mentioned in the chat that maybe Mark Henry gets involved in that match. I believe during Mark Henry's Hall of Fame speech, he did mention, hey, how about trying to get Owen Hart and that family kind of back involved in wrestling in one way or another. I don't think, maybe at the time, I don't think they met for AEW, but yeah. I mean, they didn't expect Mark Henry to be in AEW at that time either. But yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense there, that to have maybe Pillman maybe win that'd be kind of cool to see. And then maybe you get old Harry Smith involved somehow.
Maybe. He says CM Punk wins the TNT title. That's a possibility.
Wait, do you think they ever put the AEW title on Punk?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. He also says AJ Lee will wrestle and they'll team AJ could make a comeback to the ring.
AJ's supposed to be a producer on some women's wrestling show that's supported or funded, I don't know, by the Lakers owner, right? Jeannie Buss. Yeah. Wow. I don't know. Yeah, is it WoW? Maybe it is WoW. But Lakers owner Jeannie Buss, is supposed to be involved in that as well. I remember seeing the press conference for that.
He says King Woods for Universal Champion. Interesting. For the Mania main event, it says a women's championship scramble elimination match.
Boy, crazy.
I don't know if I see that happening at Mania, but that's.
I mean, I can see it not a scramble match, no, but.
He says Sting and Darby for AEW Tag Champions. Okay. Street Profits for Raw Tag Team Champions. Not far off. MVP gets SmackDown Tag titles. Is he gonna win it by himself? Is he gonna win it with Lashley? He just says MVP for Tag Champions. Miz gets another WWE title run. Yeah, not opposed to that. Jamie Hayter for AEW Women's Champion. Okay. Shaul Guerrero makes her AEW debut. Yeah, Vicky's already there. That wouldn't be terribly surprising. Shafir for TBS Champion. That's right. They got a TBS title for the women now, so possibility.
I remember seeing that. Yeah.
AJ Styles for NXT Champion. I don't know if I see that, but he's going to be at New Year's Evil next week against Grayson Waller. So maybe. And then Brian Cage joins WWE. Would not be surprised if that happens.
I think there's been some rumors, some reports on that or something, like some interest there. I don't know, something. It's been mentioned somewhere or another. Maybe I heard that on Jeff Cornette or something.
And then he has Sasha as the Women's Rumble winner. So that wouldn't be surprising.
Okay. So I got to try to follow that up.
You got to follow it up.
Me, how about we just go match for match? Did you don't have them written down, right?
I don't have mine written down, but
okay, cool. We're gonna wing it. WWE champion, which is on what, Raw or SmackDown now?
Raw right now.
It's on Raw right now. So this is gonna be who's gonna have it at the end of 2022.
At the end of the year, yeah. I mean, if you might get half a point if you guess it that they're champion.
I'm gonna. Part of me thinks Bobby Lashley will get another shot at the title.
Okay. So, I mean, write these down. If you guys have them, write down your list.
Yeah, write them down. Follow along.
Type it in your notes. Rob, type your notes down. Take a screenshot of this list over here.
Tell your friends.
And then send it to me, and then I'll hold on to it. That way we have them. All right. Okay. So you got Bobby Lashley for WWE champion?
Yes, I do.
I've got. I'm gonna go with Seth Rollins.
Of course you are.
I'm sorry, Seth freaking Rollins. You know, see like that.
There you go. Right. I'm gonna go Universal Champion. I'll go with SmackDown. I guess Kevin Owens. You gotta do something with them. Kevin Owens on SmackDown, right? Yeah. He's supposed to be in this feud with, Big E and them, right?
He's on Raw right now, but he could.
Oh no, wait.
He could be.
This is Smack. So Roman Reigns. This is a Roman Reigns show, then, right?
Roman Reigns show, yes, sir.
Brock Lesnar, I guess.
All right, you got Lesnar. Write that down. I've got We the Ones, sir. Throw it up. We the Ones. I'm not wearing my shirt. I got it for Christmas.
You think he's
Bloodline shirt?
You think he's gonna hold it for a whole year?
I think he's still gonna have. Yes, he's gonna smash them. He's gonna smash them all. He's still gonna be champion at the end of the year.
He might not even be the champion at the start of the year.
Don't say that. But he'll be champion by the end of it. All right. AEW champion, sir.
CM Punk.
You got Punk. You got the Punk winning this. I'm gonna go with MJF.
Oh, I could see that. I almost would have. Yeah, I'm
they got to pull the trigger on this guy somehow, right?
I would think so.
At some point, you would hope.
NXT champion. Here. I think it's gotta be my guy, Braun Breaker.
For who? NXT?
Yes.
You think he's gonna have it for a whole year?
I think so, because we know dang well he's gonna get it here pretty soon.
New Year's Evil next week. He gets that opportunity. We'll give our predictions for New Year's Evil and Day One at on social media. So NXT, I'm gonna go. They're pushing them. I'm gonna go with. We'll see. I had someone in mind. I had originally Grayson Waller in mind, but I think I'm gonna go with Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes. I think that's a safe bet.
For your Intercontinental Champion.
IC champion. I've got. That's a good question. Who could be?
I'm trying to think who's on. Is this the show Baron Corbin's on?
This is the show Baron Corbin. This is SmackDown. I'm gonna go with Sami Zayn on this one.
I was thinking that too.
He might win it soon because he is the number one contender now.
I think
he'll get it at the end of the year.
I think Corbin will have to do something here. He's either going to get released or he's going to win the IC title, one or the other. I mean, that's what happened with
Not Adam Cole, yeah.
Adam Cole prediction. So the next one, the United States champion.
I'm gonna go with. You know what? I like Rob's prediction so much. I'm gonna say LA Knight.
LA Knight for US champion.
I'll go with LA Knight. My guy.
You know, I'm gonna go with. I guess I'm gonna go with Austin Theory. Why not?
That's not a bad prediction at all.
Yeah, I probably. Yeah.
Raw Tag Team Champions.
Tag team champions for Raw. The Street Profits are on SmackDown, huh?
They're on Raw.
They are on Raw. And Belair's on Raw? Okay, well, Street Profits.
I'm going to Street Profits as well. I mean, there's not a whole lot of tag teams.
There's not a whole lot. That's what I'm saying. There's going to be some team made up maybe that wins titles at some point. And I'll go with the Usos. I'll go with the Usos. They'll probably lose it during the year, but maybe they bounce back at the end of the year and hold the titles.
Raw Women's. I don't think it's going to be Becky because apparently she's been a champion since 2019. Since she's been active, she's never not been a champion for the last 2.5 years. So I think she'll lose it eventually, maybe at Mania.
I think
I'm going with Asuka on this one.
Okay. I'll have Rhea Ripley and Belair. I'm not whatever shows they're on. I mean, things can get changed, but whatever their respective shows on, I'm assuming they're not on the same show.
Raw. They're both on Raw.
Okay, well, I messed that up.
Get drafted at some point. Remember, there's.
I'll go with Belair for Raw, and then for SmackDown, Bailey. Go ahead.
You know what?
Royal Rumble winners.
You know what? Oh, for SmackDown, for Women's Champion?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Bailey as well.
Wow, look at that. Copycatting.
Royal Rumble winner. I've got Bailey. And geez, I don't even know.
I'll say Walter. And
you got Walter? Wow, for the Rumble.
And Bailey. Yeah, I'll go with Bailey. Bailey wins the championship or something like that.
I've got Bailey, and I'm gonna go with. They might try Drew again. I'm gonna go with Drew.
Actually, I'm gonna go with Rhea winning the Royal Rumble. She didn't win it last year, right?
She didn't. She was
running. No, Belair did. Okay, yeah. Money in the Bank winners.
In the bank.
You got 2 minutes here.
I'm gonna go with Austin Theory.
I'll go with Gable. Why not?
I wouldn't be mad at that, but I don't.
Yeah. And then your WrestleMania main event, or do you have a women's Money in the Bank winner?
Money in the Bank. I've got. Scared to Sasha at this point. I don't know.
Sasha would work. I was thinking Carmella, but she's had it already a few times. What do you have for your WrestleMania main event?
WrestleMania main event: Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre.
Roman Reigns versus The Rock.
I think they're saving that for Hollywood. But that's not.
Dang it. Nah, I'll stick with it. They're gonna.
Anything else that I said here? No, I think we could. People jump ship. I mean,
we kind of
talked about that.
Some of that. Who gets released? We talked about that. Who gets signed? Kind of talk about that. Yeah, we'll see.
I probably don't see any big AEW Diamond. I don't know. It's probably gonna be MJF still. I don't know.
What does that even mean?
It's a diamond ring they're fighting for. I don't know. All right, we got the general champions predictions. If anything, we'll add to it next week.
I'm sending you mine right now.
And then, so I want to thank everyone for joining us in 2021. It's been a hell of a year, positive and some negatives, but you know what? We made it through. And next year we're gonna hopefully we'll be back in the studio at some point But until next time, this has been episode 175 of Beyond the Ropes in 2021. And it has been absolutely too sweet.